nice.
Hello and welcome to the 2025 Scottish Open. I'm Ben Holding, commentating here with
Elias. I'm excited to be commentating for the first time with Ben.
Yes, we are currently in a very dark room in Conopiste. And here we have our players, and we're going to get straight into the action. It is sponsored by Latitude 64, and that is Rick, our past champion. Who do we have today?
Yeah, we have a round one feature card of Pekka HYVÖNEN, Daniel Davidsson, Herman HATLO, and
Callum Taylor. So let's get into our players. Daniel Davidsson looking very scary.
Yeah, he has been practicing in the winter and his shots are looking better and better. He has the backhand advantage and the forehand advantage, and of course Pekka, another guy from Finland, strong backhand player.
I very much like his form. I like his vibe on the course. And then Herman HATLO, Callum Taylor, an Edinburgh local who the Edinburgh people have very, very high hopes for. His forehand is very smooth. Herman has a lot of distance, and let's see if he can tame that backhand.
Yeah, we're starting on a pretty short hole actually, just about 90 meters, slightly uphill. Suits really well for a slight turnover backhand or a flip-up forehand.
Yeah, that's what you'll see the players doing today. We've got some shots there. It looks lovely. You can see back to the tee from behind the basket. And we're ready to start the action.
Pekka up first. He's going with an MVP mid-range, I believe, possibly a reactor.
Probably, I believe so. Pekka getting in the way there, but that shot is absolutely lovely. No OB long this year. I thought there would be, but you're okay to just blast it down there, and you don't need to worry about any OB.
And Daniel with a forehand, as you would expect. He's more comfortable with the forehand on these shorter technical holes, up to maybe about 90, 95 meters. Just hitting the left side trees there. Not really the start you want. It's a pretty easy hole, honestly.
Then we've got Callum Taylor. He was very nervous before the round, and he's playing with some players that are better than players he's ever been with before. However, he started with a solid tee shot there. We've got T. Vetney. I absolutely love that guy. Legend.
And Herman
Queen.
on the right side.
Smooth forehand there from Herman, and easy up and down for him.
Yeah, Herman, definitely a funny guy on the course. He's one of my favorite players to play with. Daniel as well, that's a solid approach. You're really losing a stroke on hole one if you're not taking the birdie, like Pekka did there with a solid putt.
Yeah, nice putt from Callum there. He was fighting the nerves on that one, but he's very happy to see that drop. And Herman, sponsored by Team We Are Disc Golf. He is a great guy, a lovely guy on the course. I really enjoyed filming him that day.
Yeah, super chill, doesn't really get angry on the course, which I appreciate. Very fun guy to play with, and he's got some great content on Instagram as well.
Does he?
Yeah,
okay, I've got to check that out.
reels.
Nice. So hole 2, this one is one of the most dangerous ones on the course. There's OB following the right-hand side, just to the right of those trees. The entire way around, you've got to be really tight, and I think a straight shot with a slight fade at the end to push to circle's edge, short left, is going to be what you're looking for here. You're not going to see many birdies, as this one's going to play quite over par on the tournament.
Yeah, for sure, and it can be a frustrating hole if you hit some trees, because if you hit a tree, you can't really control whether you kick to the OB on the right or not. So ideally, you just want to throw it down the middle. Hopefully more hyzer than missing it to the right, because then you at least have a chance to stay in bounds. It looks like Pekka did pretty well.
Pekka did a very good drive there. He's very happy with that, as you can see from his facial expressions. Callum going with the local route. Actually, I was very surprised to see this, but it makes a lot of sense. He's nicely in the fairway there, so all good there.
Yeah, that one I haven't seen. I mean, we only played rounds with the Finnish guys in practice, so I guess we only took the non-local routes. This is the more typical one. You could see Daniel putting a lot of hyzer out of the hand, which I like, but still a little bit too straight there.
Flips up, and He was not happy with it. It went straight into out of bounds. So he's going to be playing from a tough up and down position.
And Herman putting more height on it, which is good for getting more left, but as you can see, a bit of a low ceiling there still on this hole. You don't think of it as a low ceiling hole, but those branches, they really come into play if you throw it that high.
Yeah, and he gets punished with that one, and he's got a tough pattern pending here. And if you just watch Herman's hand on this shot.
Oh yeah, he was talking about this after the round, that he knowingly decided that he was going to hit the tree with his hand.
Really?
Yeah, thinking that it was worth the good shot. But the shot wasn't even that great, so I don't think it was worth it after all.
No, and you can hear the sound in the video of him hitting his hand, which is not ideal. He came up to me afterwards and showed me it. But a berg there from Callum sits down nicely. And the group is just deciding where Daniel went out of bounds. And tough break to get on the second hole.
You can see the barbed wire fence there. It's going to serve as a 2-foot relief. So normally you go OB, you take your meter, but this time you get 2 meters.
And we had Callum on the card, and he was stating that it was not 2 meters. And so we had a bit of discussion there. And the rounds after, we actually played it as 2 meters, but Callum, the local, said that it wasn't 2 meters. But
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know really what happened there.
Probably not trying to cheat Daniel, but I think he was a little bit unclear with the rules in this tournament. Because in the past I've heard that they have played it as just 1 meter.
Yes, okay.
All right, let's see Pekka here. This is for birdie, right?
Yep. I don't know if that was a run, to be fair.
I think he's just happy with the par on this one. It's a hole, honestly, the first 6 holes, besides hole 1, are all holes where you are pretty much pleased with the par.
Yes. The stretch from 2 to 6, you look at the hardest playing holes on the week, and a lot of them are 2 to 6. Yeah, a missed putt there from Daniel Lowe. He was not happy after that.
No, coming into the tournament as the #1 favorite, by far the highest rated player, 1029, I believe.
Yes, 1029, yeah.
Very impressive stuff.
Every time you get a bogey, you get Pekka looking at you, funnily.
That's deserved.
Max pulling his hair out. Double bogey for Daniel, which is not ideal. You can see the wind ripping there on this uphill shot. People in England call this a par 4, but this is actually definitely reachable. I really think you've got to flip up a driver and get it going perfectly straight up until a very fast green. Seamus said this was the fastest green on the course, and you don't want to be missing your putt and sliding circle's edge long.
Yeah, definitely a tricky hole, and I think the key on this hole is, since you're going uphill and then a little bit downhill at the end, you want to keep your disc as low to the ground as possible. So just get barely over the hill with that flip-up shot, as you mentioned. Pekka has been hitting this shot really nicely in practice, and that's another beautiful looking shot.
Even that, though, is going to be very short left, at least edge of C3, I think. You've really got to pump it.
And honestly, edge of C3 is great on this hole. You're very happy if you just get the par.
Yes, for sure.
There are not going to be many birdies during the weekend on this hole.
And you can see Callum's forehand there just has no chance of reaching the basket, so he's playing down the fairway.
Herman is a guy that could reach this hole if he's going with a distance driver. Just the angle control with a distance driver becomes so tricky. And Daniel as well, he's very comfortable with this hyzer to flip release on the backhand.
I very much like his chances, but he pulls that one right. Not ideal. And he's going to be off the fairway once again.
Yeah, rough looking start for Daniel. It's pretty surprising, honestly. Of course, we're just a couple of holes down the stretch, but he's usually pretty solid with the hard thrown driver backhands.
And that was a really good approach there. You couldn't really see, but he did not really have a line, and it's really good to get to the edge of circle, or just outside the circle from there. He's very much off the fairway. And Callum usually doesn't take his time, but this one he really took his time on to make sure he got it how he wanted to. I cut out a lot of footage of him doing pump fakes.
Yeah, I feel like the stereotype of British players is usually not on the faster side, but it's like to see some. It's very nice to see some change from Callum there. And this was Pekka's drive, right?
Must have been, yeah.
That's a very good drive to be within putting distance on this hole.
Yes.
And thanks to Ben, we can see the scoring average on the top right corner of the screen. You can see it's playing closer to a par 4 as the scoring average shows.
Yeah. Great par save there from Daniel. Very good to stop the bleeding. Stay at 2 over par. Pekka was actually a lot closer than I realised. It was very good.
Yeah, that might be the best drive that I have seen on this hole. At least up to the first round.
Now, this is one of my favourite holes. It looked absolutely beautiful in round 1. You have to flip up a driver, start it on initial hyzer and get it to go straight for almost 100 metres. And you're not allowed to go left or right, otherwise you're going to get swallowed up by the trees. And then you fade into the green, hopefully for a birdie. But this is a tough shot to get the shot shape right.
Really tough, and don't be fooled by the route that the drone is taking, because all of the players, at least all of the 3 players throwing backhand on this hole, are going to be going down the right side, as the shot is exactly what Ben was talking about. So you want to hit the right side of the first trees you see in the middle of the screen there. Let's see if Pekka can do it. Very good shot shape for him as well, but just a bit too high there on the release, I believe.
This was very nice though, and he actually, you can't tell because there's only one camera, but he actually rode the fairway really nicely and ended up circle's edge short left. One of, I think maybe the best shot I saw all weekend.
That's very cool.
It was very cool.
Herman also has that natural hyzer release, but that's early, way early, and if you get all the way through there, you're actually going to have a pretty short shot to the green, but is he in some bushes there on the left?
You'll see. He's actually in a bit that was called an out of bounds area for people in general, but not for disc golf, which was very interesting. You'll see. Daniel here, his shot went really far left and we lost it for a good amount of time, I have to say. I'm not going to specify the minutes, but we found it right at the end. It was buried in some leaves and he almost had to re-tee. It was super, super close. You can see us looking for it there.
Yeah, I think I heard some stories about this where there was a little bit of unclarity about when the clock has started or when it hasn't, but in these situations, the whole group has to be aware that the clock has started, otherwise it's not official.
And he almost rang it up for a birdie. That would have been one of the best birdies I'd seen. But in Scotland, benefit often goes to the player, I have to say. There's some nice people there. So you can see actually here, you're not allowed to be in this area apparently, but Herman and I had no idea if it was OB. So he's just pitching up to the basket and taking his par. Happy with the par on this one, I think.
Yeah.
You're not too upset. This is the birdie putt though.
You can see the Scottish flag on top of the basket with some wind and a great hit there. Almost looked like it had some potential for a spit out there. Some players were a little bit worried about the latitude baskets spitting out very often. I believe we had many spit outs in practice, but it definitely requires a different putt than, let's say, a Prodigy or a disc catcher basket.
Very wide, so they are very generous sometimes, but the chains are quite soft. So this one is a par 4, and it was a par 3 in previous years. We are looking at hole 5. You have to flip up, if you're a righty, a usually fairway driver and try and hit the gap. A lot of players, it being a par 4, actually weren't going for the basket. And in previous years, it's been a par 3, so people have been trying to get the birdie, but now that would be an eagle. Very cool tree lying down on the fairway as well. It makes a good feature for this hole.
Yeah, I think this is one of the more satisfying gaps on the course to hit. If you just hit that hard slide hyzer to flip up shot down the middle with the backhand, it feels amazing. And yeah, definitely eagleable, though I think at least a couple of guys. Pekka here is going to be going with just a forehand. He's pretty comfortable hitting gaps with a forehand.
But not the best shot on that one, but he gets a decent amount of forward progression actually. No emotion as usual.
I love how tight this gap looks on camera.
It was that tight in person as well. And we were talking about how the tree on the left-hand side of the tee pad really gets in your head. because you feel like you're going to hit it straight away, and that is not a good kick.
No, Herman is going to be closer to hole 6's fairway, which is going to be the next hole. And yeah, that's not a great place. He does have some chances for par, as it's a really short par 4. You can still pitch up to the fairway and have a 100-meter shot to the basket. And even Daniel there, he got a little ways down the fairway, and he has about 80 meters to go if he wants to get his birdie.
Yeah, Callum getting really lucky here and turns over his drive, but it actually fades into a nice position. Look at him, you can see him smiling. It's a very good sport, but no one hitting the gap on this hole. It's a common theme.
Yeah, I feel like I maybe saw 1 or 2 people the entire weekend hitting the gap very clean. So it's not
crazy.
that surprising. Yeah, it's not the tightest of gap, but I think it's just uncomfortable with the tree next to the tee pad and also with the right-to-left slope.
So a nice forehand anhyzer from Herman here, and he actually hit his hand again, but this time it drew no blood and he was okay. And that is a good approach from there. Nice to get back into safe territory.
Yeah, absolute iron fist on that dude. Let's see Daniel. This is a shot that he has been working on. Touchy backhand.
Too high, and it skateboards off the tree.
Wow, pretty cool. He's gonna have a look, though not as close as you would like. It's a pretty easy par 4, to be honest. If you hit the gap, or even if you don't hit the gap. Pekka was in a solid position there despite missing the gap.
Callum pitching up, but he hits a tree, and so that's going to leave some meat on the bone for the putt. How often do you see a tree as big as this just randomly in the fairway?
I think we might not have a single tree this big in Finland on any course, or any of our 1,000 courses, at least the ones I have played. Yeah, but yeah, definitely a cool feature, and I love the fact that you can have big trees rather than small ones, because a bigger one is always a more prominent feature.
Nice. So pressure putt to save the par here. Herman's got lots of people watching. Bang! Very happy with that one. Lovely par save. The people were clapping very loudly. And you can see there's this decent bit of wind all the time in this Scottish course. We had fantastic weather for the first 2 days. Last day was a bit more windy, but the first day was nice and warm, almost too warm.
Yeah, you can see the Scottish flag once again. Right to left wind on Pekka's side.
Yeah.
No problem for him. That's what we call a latitude basket catch.
Yeah, it was a nice catch.
Yeah, high left. I feel like this is what this basket does. It gives and it takes sometimes. Mostly, I think it mostly gives.
Yeah.
With the good catches on the left and right side.
It's super wide. Yeah. So we're coming on to now, which played in round 2, but not round 1. In round 1, it was maybe the 6th hardest hole, but in round 2, it was the hardest hole, hole 6, which is a very, very deathly par 4, and there's not much of a landing zone actually. So the players were just hoping to hit it on a hyzer and get lucky.
Yeah, for sure. You can see how close the drone is. Even though the drone is flying dead middle of the fairway through the entire hole, you can see how close it is to the right and left side trees. So the fairway is really not more than maybe 4 meters wide. And 150 meters of distance. It's really short for being a par 4, but with this amount of trees, it feels much longer.
And it also plays a reasonable amount uphill, sneakily uphill, but especially with the approach, it's really hard to get there on a second shot. People are often very happy to take a par. And Pekka here misses it right and then kicks right, but continues straight on and stays in bounds. We were very surprised to see that one in bounds.
Yeah, it's another hole that can be a little bit frustrating if you hit a tree and kick OB to the right. Honestly, even if you kick a tree and go towards the left, towards the hole 5's fairway. But yeah, Daniel, I think this hole suits his shot pretty well. He's once again very comfortable with the hard thrown drivers.
But he boosts it right off the tree, and we thought this would be OB for sure. We were all chatting about it, but actually it stayed safe. It's very surprising.
And in this wind, with the trees as well, oh, that's unfortunate.
But he stays safe. It's crazy.
He's safe as well. Everybody is safe.
This was, usually they kick OB from there, so it was really surprising to see that one safe. Everyone was happy.
Yeah, and especially with the forehand spin, you're more likely to kick further to the right with a forehand spin than with a backhand spin. And that's just an authentic look on this hole after the drive. Usually you have some sort of a scrambly shot.
Yes, yes. And Herman there, I have to shout him out, was super happy, very smiley after that shot, because from that position it's really tough to save the par. But luckily he had a fairway and he hit it. Callum just chipping. And off to the right of this hole, you don't really notice it, but there's actually a ship just randomly in the woods.
A ship?
Yeah.
A cruise?
A big ship just in the woods. Yeah.
Watch out for Jack Sparrow. As Daniel forehand roller, very common on this right side. You have a lot of gaps, but the thing is, all of the gaps are pretty small, so unless you're comfortable hitting that gap and potentially kicking OB if you miss it, you should probably go for the forehand roller.
Yeah, nice safe play. Callum there almost gets it, but too much Anheuser. He's fine with that positioning though. Pekka, common theme this week, was just putting back to the fairway as soon as he went off the fairway. It was surprising for me to see, but I guess he's now in the fairway. Hasn't a chance to get up and down.
Let's see how's the Pyro forehand looking. It's usually pretty good with this shot. This time not so much. I mean, it's a tricky approach. Once again, I think that gap looked a little bit wider on camera than it was in real life. The angle that you have to throw on the approach is pretty tight. You have to move left early and then straight late. So it's very much a backhand flip up or a forehand Anheuser.
Decent shot from Herman there, but you can see where Daniel is. He's really not got much here. He took his time on this one, going for a lot of cut on the forehand. But he nicks a tree and he's left with a very long putt to, I believe, save the par.
Par pretty much feels like a birdie on this hole. I don't know any player in the field who is expecting to have a birdie look on this hole.
I wouldn't be surprised if Nestori was, to be fair. But
yeah, that could be true. Wow, good bid from Pekka.
yeah,
He's got some of that Finnish old school junior pop on his putt. I feel like the new school juniors are a bit more, I guess, controlled with their pace. But Pekka used to putt super hard and with a lot of spin.
Daniel there coming up short, lots of uphill. It's not surprising from mid T2. And that one, literally, if you slow it down, hit the very top of the chains, just below the band. You could not get any higher.
And look at the start from Pekka. Even though he takes the bogey on this one, he's 2 under through the first 6, which is, in practice, we jokingly call 2 under through 6 being the perfect score because it's so difficult to get birdies.
Yep, for sure. So this one is a forehand Anheuser to a tee, hole 7. You go downhill into an island green. There's OB on the just short of the road, and so you've got to get past that. You don't want to hit an early tree, and you want to fade late towards the basket. The main gap is the left-hand side, and you'll see players either late turning a putter or forehand Anheusering.
Yeah, I think the forehand is the best play if you got it. And the thing is, if you miss this gap, you can easily kick OB, or if you throw it too far, you can also go to the backside OB. So pretty touchy hole, and I like the overstability here to control the distance.
Yeah, that was an A2, and it stays in bounds. This one, I believe, is a pyro from Pekka, but low and left, and stays in bounds though. Almost good that he was that low. So tactic now from Daniel.
Really good shot for Daniel. He has an amazing touch forehand, and just look at this.
And hits the guardian tree. Very unlucky there because you can't really play for getting through the trees. You just have to get a bit lucky.
No, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a great shape on the hole, but yes, as you can see, it's really hard to get perfectly clean. This one looks nice though.
And same again.
Yeah, once again.
Same big tree.
I feel like it's almost better to saw it off a little bit early, so you fade before that tree, or just throw it very straight and fade after the tree.
Nice. Pekka leaves his approach a little bit short. He was not happy after that one. But Daniel for the first birdie of the day, and boom, cashes it from circle 2, out of the frame, and he's back to +2 on the round. Not where he wants to be, he's in 10th right now, which is second half of the field, but I'm sure he'll keep pushing forward.
Yeah, not the biggest field in this event. I believe there was 19 players.
Yeah, until I dropped out.
Yeah, 18 players with Ben Holding dropping out due to a small injury. But yeah, Pekka there, good putt. It's a hole where I mean, you're not mad with the par. You can definitely take the bogey, but you would like to birdie it most of the time.
For sure. Unlike this one, for the big arms, this is a must-get birdie. Talk to me about hole 8.
Yeah, hole 8, I think it might be the easiest hole on the course if you can throw above 120 meters. The thing is, you usually have a headwind, but it's fully open off the tee, so you just throw something overstable straight and fade a little bit left to the open part of the fairway where you have all the lines open. You can take a hyzer, straight shot, forehand hyzer. Only thing to worry about on this hole is the OB on the field, left side of the basket on the approach. Really, from the tee, there's OB on the right side, but you should never find it if you throw something stable.
And you can see with Daniel's shot, look how far left he puts this, and this stays in bounds. So you've really got no chance of going OB if you're smart about your tee shot. It's really, really difficult. And you can look actually on Herman's form. His grip, when he throws these approaches on the next shot, keep a close eye on his grip, and his finger actually comes off the rim. It's something I've never actually seen before mid-throw, but it's very interesting.
Interesting. Which finger are you talking about?
The pointer finger.
Pointer finger
comes off the rim.
Very unique. Yeah. This is just a normal good drive from Pekka.
Yeah, standard Pekka.
Let's hope it doesn't go long. Should be good there.
Yep.
It's pretty tricky to go OB long with an overstable disc. I believe it's about 135 meters and maybe the slightest bit of uphill and bit of headwind as well.
You can see the spotter giving no reaction there. Callum heavily turned this one, but even this is in bounds, just leaves him a long way from the basket. He's got to go full distance driver, and same thing again, turns it over. We found this one straight away, but he's not going to be happy with that shot. You can see some emotion there from Callum. Almost never see him get angry.
Yeah, this hole really would like you to have that backhand forehand combo, or at least the backhand hyzer, because it's so easy. The OB on the left is not really coming into play with that backhand hyzer. Yep. Is Daniel going to be a bit short there?
Daniel threw the splice and was pretty short, whereas Pekka's just going pyro. Looks like he's upset, but he puts it to 4 or 5 meters.
Yeah, very nice there. You can see the difference between a very overstable fairway driver and a slightly overstable mid-range. The mid-range just floating much better in the air.
And this one looks pretty good, going with a nice overstable disc, but he's got a decent amount of meat left on the bone. He's around just outside C2. Callum here chatting with his caddy. Callum was very good vibes. He's really nice to play with, great guy, and you really want to root for him. I decided not to zoom in on this one.
That's okay. Where did it go?
It went to around 8 meters, I believe.
No problem. So Daniel here coming off a very good putt on the last hole. Let's see another good one here. Unfortunately not. His putt is looking very smooth though. I already saw in practice the stroke was really good from, let's say, inside of 12, 15 meters.
He looks really relaxed on the greens, I have to say. And I like how Herman commits to every putt. That one unfortunately didn't drop. Same with Callum's putt, did not drop. And Elias can't hear the sound effects. But Pekka not happy with this one.
No, it looks like it was a little bit left, but I saw another description of this putt from Pekka, and he said that it went fully through the chains.
Yeah, something you really don't want in a tournament. He putted with a bit too much hyzer, and these baskets, the outer chains are slightly far apart from the inner chains, and if you putt with too much hyzer, it can easily just go through the basket.
Yeah, for sure, but you can see that he's not too pissed. He knows that he did a good stroke, and not much you can do about that one.
Yeah, hole 9 now. Can you reach this hole?
Hole 9, I think, personally, I can't reach this hole fully, but I think we might have a player on the card named Daniel Davidsson who can put it potentially inside the circle. The tricky thing is that you don't really have a clean line, so you can, the only clean line would be a forehand hyzer, but there's not a player in the world who can reach this with a forehand hyzer.
So maybe some lefty backhand hyzers. I said to myself, the day that I've made my lefty backhand good enough is the day that I throw a lefty backhand hyzer on this one and park it.
That is pretty insane, because even Daniel, I believe, has to go full power and a flip-up shot to if he wants to have a look on this hole. This one is a bit left though.
Kicks left as well, and luckily we had a couple spotters out there, but it was It's not ideal. It's almost like natural OB, but you can get up and down pretty nicely from there, to be fair.
Yeah, the left side is lost disc territory.
Yeah, that's what I mean to say, yeah.
Many people were losing discs there in practice, and Herman also doing the same. I'm surprised you guys aren't going with something slightly more understable to get that uphill flight. Because you can't really see it on video, but this hole is very uphill and playing probably closer to 160 meters than 120.
Yes, I was going to say that you need at least 500 foot of power to even get edge of circle, I think. I really think so. But this one, Pekka has listened to you and he's slightly overturned it and gets an awful kick. Parks the blue basket, but we are playing to the yellow basket, so not ideal. Now we have Eagle McMahon with the forehand.
Yeah, definitely has the same look. Not quite the same reach back though, a bit shorter on the reach back there, I think. Yeah, with the forehand it's just so far, and unless you have one of the elite forehands in the world, you can't really put it within putting distance.
And he thought this one was going in, but it just catches the tree and slows it down.
Pekka has some lanes there. He might even have the path walking to the next hole.
He's not quite, and he hits a tree, gets caught up. Couldn't see Herman there, but he pitches out, and it's a great upshot actually. He couldn't really see the basket, so that's a very good one from there. Classic Daniel now.
Yeah, touchy
putting it nice and
forehand.
close.
I think Daniel might be my #1 pick for those touchy forehand shots, maybe up to 70, 80, 90 meters.
That's fair. I think his tee to green is one of the best in Europe, if not the best. And his putting now, he looks super smooth on the green. So he's proving unstoppable.
Yeah, not on this front nine though, going +2 on the front. Really not one of the leading scores. I think the ideal score here that is realistic to do for a good player is going to be somewhere between -1 to -3 on the front.
So our players, front nine, Pekka shooting -1 and going side second. He was first place for most of that front nine, but he slowed down at the end. Daniel, not too happy. Herman is okay, doing all right middle T5 with my friend Elias pretty solid. How did you play that front nine?
I didn't play great, but I didn't play terrible, so still in the mix.
Yes, yes. And Callum started off well, but he slowed down in the end. And so that is the Scottish Open 2025 Round 1 Front 9. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This has been Luke Hole coverage.
You could call it that. I'm okay with that. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you, Ben, for taking me on this commentary gig.
No worries. I really appreciate you helping me out and doing some commentary. So we'll see you guys for the back nine soon. Vamos and peace.
Peace.
All right, thank you.
Pretty nice.